Hello, viewers. Welcome to another edition of the Uniben Alumni Series. As you know, this is a program where we showcase distinguished alumni of the great University of Benin, and then we'll provide a platform for them to tell us their journey, the University of Benin journey. And on today's edition, we have Mr. Collins Osagie Omokaro with us. He is a senior investment and technology promotion expert with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization in Nigeria. Thank you, Mr. Collins, for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for the invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins is a man of several progressive paths. Hopefully, we'll have time to discuss some of the things he's into. And for our viewers, Mr. Collins holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Agricultural Economics and Extension from the Faculty of Agriculture. Sorry, and he also holds a diploma certificate from our institution from Applied Microbiology. Mr. Collins, I want you to clarify, was it agric economics you intended to study at the institution? I usually ask my guests because at times Uniben gives us what they want us to study. Was that the same thing in your case?
Yeah, apparently it wasn't. But so with microbiology, I wanted to, after the diploma, I actually wanted to continue. However, when we applied for direct entry, eventually that's the word given. But trust me, and that was the best decision that obviously happened to me.
Okay.
It was very transformative for my life. I saw that. Um, I mean, even with the when you see the microbiology lab in a Greek was better than microbiology lab in microbiology. It was so funny. You know, when I got to experience that, and trust me, after my internship with Guinness and the medical facility in Benin, I realized that it was better that I did agric, eventually. So it was a great transition, a great choice that happened to me. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Today you're into investment, business development, strategy, leadership, and all that. This is quite a little shift away from agric or agric extension. What at what point did you realize or did you think, oh, this is a part I think I will sell that made you go into business development, investment, and all that?
So I will always start by saying that I still give thanks to the fact that when I was in school, I was not just allowing the school to pass through me. I also went through the school effectively. So I was a member of NASS. I was also a member of Electoral Commission, and also at faculty level, I also served in my own capacity at my faculty. And that leadership has been there. And trust me, those experiences helped me a lot to be able to speak out to anyone, even when I left. So when I got out of school, and then I served in Ondo State. So it was from the camp I was actually hired to serve with that institution, financial institution, Greenwich Merchant Bank. And during that year, the pure finance institution, into investment banking, investment as facilitation, capital raising, and all of that. And going through all of those processes, I saw that I started with Ondo State, and then having to then sell products was first line. They're selling whether equities or fixed income or commodities or real estate instruments. So you're selling asset classes that obviously define what investment really means. And of course, as a science student, I always say that your first teacher is the fact that there's nothing you cannot learn, and there's nothing you cannot do effectively. And now roping that with the political aspect of life that we did in school, it was then very easy to sell products. and then to learn it became so. And over time, and I saw that it was a very beautiful area, because that has obviously helped me, in terms of having to even advise people within my circle or what to invest in, and of course, on how to make those investment decisions, which then define how sustainable your income will be or your savings will be. So those were the time of my transition. I'll say my transition happened during the NYSC, and
Oh,
beautiful journey that I embraced extensively. Yeah.
yeah, okay. You've made mention of some attributes you took from Uniben as a student, not just the certificates. I would like us to anchor more on that. The things you took from Uniben outside the diploma certificate and BSc certificate. What are those things that you think Uniben gave to you that are still very handy for you till today?
I think one of them was the leadership aspects. I feel like today, anything you want to do, there are about 6 core areas that drives anything you do sustainably. One is leadership, 2 is relationship management, 3 is being able to originate or sell a product or service that you sell or own or you work for. 4 is being able to understand the risk around your environment and able to manage those risks so that when those exposures come, you're able to navigate them. 5 is a bit to understand the trends, the operational trend of your environment or your business. And then 6 is the funding aspect of whatever you're doing, funding or funding mix. So those baskets that I just listed, I learned a lot of those from Uniben in terms of foundational. Leadership was one, and I've highlighted a few of that. 2 is the relationship aspects. I still have most of my friends that I made that we all found ourselves within Uniben. A lot of us are still together to date. And we've done so well for each other. We've done a lot together, and we are still collaborating and getting stronger by the day. Part of the people I met was and of course, those are relationships that we thrive on today. And I
Yeah,
can tell you, within our space, within the emerging market space, relationship is one of the biggest assets you can have. Thirdly is your ability to obviously understand what priorities are. So you can dabble into so many things you need, and then you must commit to what matters. I remember the dean of students who used to be our mentor. We always say this, that Collins, I'm the first person to check your results. So what it means that as long as you guys are playing politics, just remember that you cannot afford to fail. So when we graduated with the 2-1, after running around, traveling from state to state, it was because we had the intentionality. We knew we knew that we can dabble in so many things, but we commit to what is the primary objective while we were in school. And so this other attribute now helped us to understand that emotional intelligence, to differentiate what is good and what is evil. That's why we could live in a custody all through, and we navigate all of that by grace of God and us through the kind of mentors that we also had. So I mean, I think those were very key. Relationship talk for me, leadership, another thing. The risk around, you must be able to differentiate. If you switch to the other part, your life will be very different from what it is today. So you must be able to understand what is good and evil. So those are the risk elements you have to identify. And then what are the opportunities? The opportunities then become things you take out of the school itself, which is that entrepreneurial skills started very early, in school, where you typically are finding value. I remember when we went for an excursion to Cotonou, also went to Songhai and went to ITA. A lot of our classmates went there and they came back buying a lot of things and they sold in school. It was very interesting to see all of those things happen, but there were realities that we all see ourselves today. That is beyond just the school. We must learn a lot of things out of school. Yeah, that's for me. Those were very, very important elements that we need
okay. Yeah, thank you. Let's talk about the memories, especially the beautiful memories you had in school. I believe you still have some at the tip of the finger that I can just reflect on and say, oh, that was actually a wonderful time when we were in school. So can you share with us some of these memories you had, some beautiful memories, especially as a student of Uniben, and also as a comrade Yeah,
Yeah.
from comrades, yes.
Yeah.
What are those memories you can still go back to and you smile?
Yeah. I mean, like the truth, Uniben had a whole lot of beautiful memories. Reflecting on those memories today, just by. I think one part that stood out for me was during my field training. In 400 level agroeconomics, you are expected to do your 400 level across multiple institutions. The rubber research, cocoa research, oil palm research, and we go to um, Songa, Amokwe, Delta State, Saple, and then a few other places. You also start from school. Those experiences were very practical. I'm very big on practicality. So we were able to see from first hand. That's why I'll tell you that agroeconomics was way better for me than microbiology. And because I was able to sit in and we're able to visit those locations, those learnings helped me a lot. Even when I started working or serving, I was able to set up snailry for a lot of my palm secs in states that I worked that were retiring and they didn't know the business they wanted to go into. So those experiences was just so much to soak in that we had to obviously unpack them. So for me, those were spot on, top for me, those experiences that I had in growing. Of course, another very interesting one was I remember when in 400 level going to 500. Um, After vacation, I went to Lagos to just have fun. And my one of my mentor in school, my mother in school then. She called me like, Collins, I'm not seeing some of your scripts. What's going on? Is that I didn't write these courses? I said, I did, ma. She said, you have to come to school. Let's start asking everybody to look for them. About 4 of my papers were missing.
Mhm.
So she was able to, we call her mother of morals. She was able to call I don't want to mention her name, but again, I can mention her name, Professor Alufohai.
Okay.
She was a mother, she called her mother of morals. She was professor of agroeconomics. She called most of those lecturers and said, this is what's going on. And they found those scripts. When they find the scripts, there's another side of marking those scripts, right, for you to now pass well.
Yeah, because the scrutiny this time around.
4 papers, I got A's in 3, I got 1 in B1. So that was a proud moment for me and for her, for the work that she did.
And you
Was
did not disappoint her.
didn't find those I would have spilled. And so that was a good point that I will never forget in my life for Uniben.
Yeah.
I mean, they just a whole, but as a comrade. So again, comradeship was beautiful because people see politics from different perspectives. I think our time, politics was painted in a very, very different light. That you can have intelligence and also be a politician.
Mhm.
Average guy that we all did politics, we all graduated with a 2-1. And everybody today are doing very, very well. Because those political side of being able to negotiate at different levels, I think that negotiation skill is top in anything you want to talk about today in the world. And these are things we learned, that when you negotiate, it doesn't have to be violent to get what you want. You can actually have very, very constructive conversations, drilling down what really matters and giving justification why those things need to be done. There was a time in our final year where our dean of students, Professor Ekatwa, then had said that we're not going to have our final year week for some reasons and all of that. We had to
And it was from your faculty.
yes, we had to appeal to him. So you're our father, you're our daddy. You can't allow this to happen. We're ready for it. And we're going to do it in a way that it will be peaceful. And trust me, it was one of the greatest experiences that even most of them still say today that this is your set. There's something with you. The unity and all of that. Of course, there were some moments that we lost a few of our friends, and those were moments that really touched on that still hurts a lot of us today because some of these guys were great people. So that yeah.
Okay. Let's talk briefly on NASS. Do you think that the organization is fulfilling its mandate as the student apex body? Especially, I don't know if you are still conversant with the operations of the organization team today, do you think they actually speak for the interests of Nigerian students team today?
So structurally, I think NASS has lost it structurally, and I think sometimes it's always good for you to tell yourself truth. And I think some institutions like Uniben tried for some time to maintain those standards and still engage constructively. So as things began to approach towards the 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018, the regard or respect just begin to water down. So when you begin to have multiple factions that are unresolvable, at that level you lost it. Because when you are divided, well, one thing that comradeship has taught us, you cannot divide yourself and then try to approach any negotiation table. It's going to fail, particularly when you're in an environment where the macro conversations are stronger. The youth aspects we needed to be a bit more strict on our policies, and regardless of how it is, let's come back to the table to ensure that we have one person that is speaking at the level of NASS. So it became a thing of regional levels and then national. So if there was just, I think that there's a lot that needs to be done if that relevance can ever be restored the way it used to be. But today, I won't say there's any much to admire.
There are some people with the school of thought that they think that the entrance of the younger ones actually created these whole issues you just raised. Do you think do you think that is true?
I don't really agree to that. There are young people. It's not really, for me. It's not really about age. I was a member of an ESCO, as of a business of a 7-company business. I was head of strategy for 7 companies, where he had CEO. We had CEOs that were at average age was 60, and I was still at, let's say, 29 years at that time, 28 years. But they listened and were able to get things going. So what I'm saying is not really about age. I don't believe in that school of thought of younger people. I feel like there's even some younger people today that are so smart, that are doing so well, that they're even ashamed of the other ones that they call themselves leaders. I only think that people need to open their mind to understand that there's transition of even ideas. There are multi-generational beliefs that have changed. And you have to understand how to bridge that gap between your age, which is an elderly person, and the younger side. You must be able to do very practical mentorship. It's not oppressive mentorship. And you must also show mentorship by example of what you have done. And I tell a lot of people this: if you don't have the technical records to show me that I can listen to you, I will not listen to you. And a lot of that has happened. You cannot say there are live memberships of NASS, but you cannot say you're a NASS member and you want to live there forever. And you don't find a younger person that just left school yesterday is now your leader, sort of, because the person is now financially stronger than you. No, you must be able to also transition and build that respect. You can't give what you don't have. So this person would have gone, that you're calling a young person, would have gone and experienced certain level of other type of leadership, another type of technical growth that he feels like you are far out of that. So when you're talking, they're not listening to you. And there's even the age of technology. I'm sure that there's a lot of things that you can teach people, but really not being there. So we need to do a lot more of accepting what the truth is and then restructuring a lot that needs to be done. It's not really about old or young. Young people can be on the table.
Thank you for that thought. Let's talk about your position with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization as senior investment and technology promotion expert. What is your role? What have you been doing in that position? Can you give us an insight about your role with the organization?
Okay, so thank you so much. Yes, I at the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, all our goals align with SDG 9, which is the Sustainable Industrialization. And a bit of that we do from the investment and technology promotion aspect. What we are, our mandate is basically to help drive sustainable financing, promoting investment for SMEs and other type businesses. We also do a lot around capacity building to ensure that these businesses have the technical competencies. They also have the readiness mentality, and also prepare them to be a beautiful bride. You know, when I mean beautiful bride is a company, a startup, for example, need to be cleaned up properly for an investor to say, I have interest in this company. And we also do a whole lot of business matchmaking. So we're taking a lot of businesses from Nigeria to China to other countries across the world. We've also helped do a lot of women readiness program. We do a lot for women. Because women are like the strength of major economies. If you look at the numbers by trade or by industry or by GDP or by employment, women businesses or women-led entities are doing a lot of significant in terms of numbers. And we do a lot of capacity for women-owned entities as well. We do a lot around value chain development. I conducted for GIZ in it on agricultural export value chain, and we did that basically just to also ensure that we identify the commodities that define the value of each state, and those commodities is what you can now get investors to say, okay, I want to invest in for those states: sesame seed, cashew nuts, cocoa bean, pineapple, and cassava, oil palm. Then getting investors to do all of that. So we'll do all of those, getting those investment readiness, cleaning up the company in terms of their financials, in terms of their governance structure, in terms of the product itself, in terms of the manufacturing bit, in terms of the input mix. Is it exports driven? Is it locally sold, and all of that? So that obviously help us clean your business, clean your business for investors to see where the potential is. And of course, we'll do drill down on the financials as well to see what is your sales like, what's your expected sales, what kind of money investment that you're looking for, you know, and all of that. So we do a bit of all of that. And we also work with subnational states. So each of the states in Nigeria today work with their investment and technology promotion or investments technology promotion office. We've done with those states. We've done with, or we are doing some things with Oyo State currently, Ogun State, Kaduna State, Katsina, across. Basically, we also do a lot with NIPC itself, and BOI and other serious institutions in Nigeria. We work with them, just partner with them to support them in what they do. I mean, a bunch of other things that we basically also do. We do deal rooms where we get businesses to come and pitch, and we get financing for them. We bring investors to the table, we get them to pitch, and then they get investment. We've done a couple of that as well. And we also promote technology. So we're taking a lot of businesses from Nigeria to China to see those sort of technology that are available there, and then how those technology can also help them be more efficient in terms of their businesses in Nigeria, and how obviously you can also get some alternative to what you do that helps you to scale, to help you reduce your costs, and also you become a lot more profitable. Just so the whole bunch of that we do at the
Okay. Lastly, we're coming to end. Let's talk about your time as special assistant to the Honorable Minister, the former Honorable Minister for Industry, Trade and Investment. You are part of the team that ensured Nigeria's implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area.
Yes.
Today, would you say that that project is a success? Would you? And we would like to know more because average Nigerians, we still see the barriers between doing trade within the Africa zone. We still see the political undertone, the insecurity, which unfortunately is one of the challenges we have in Africa. So, from your own assessment as an integral, as a pivotal member of that team, do you think it is a success, or going forward, do you think it will be more successful?
I think so. So I'll answer by saying yes, it is. I see the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. I see it as I call it a trade facilitation tool. So essentially, and I try to explain it to people to look at it from a smaller perspective. So when you look at it from a bigger Africa context, it becomes so big for you. So I use an example. If you are a company today, and that's part of the reason when we did value chain assessment for Edo State, we're able to tie some commodities that Edo can begin to export to other Africa countries at enjoying that tariff. So the goal for the AfCFTA is to liberalize the tariffs on goods and services, free movement on people, and we have like a clear understanding between these countries. And what it also means is for to drive the prosperity of Africans. So I'll give you a clear example today. If you look at the Africa import bills, there are certain commodities today that drive heavy import bills to Africa. Unfortunately, intra-Africa trade, that trade between Africa countries, is just hovering between 18 and 21%. However, trade between the Asian continent is about 53%. So what we are trying to change is you need to be able to trade within yourself. That's when you can drive the prosperity within your country. If you are not doing value addition, you cannot trade. If you're not doing a lot around value addition, you cannot increase the number of employment. If you are just sourcing raw material and exporting, which is what we have been doing in Africa. So the goal of AfCFTA is really focusing on value addition so that you can add value to what you are doing and then sell to other African countries. With that, you're able to increase the intra-Africa trade. You're able to increase the basket of our tradable commodities. And by default of that, increase our own export earnings in Africa. So today, there are so many commodities that other African countries have in huge quantity, but we do not have that linkages, which you rightly said, to ensure that that is even done cheaper. Two is that the cost of exporting across Africa is also very high. So part of the goal of AfCFTA, and trust me, we are making progress. We are making so much progress in Africa. And it's a game changer for us. All I will always say is that for companies or businesses, the goal is for you to even increase our own value chain. So you look at a company in Nigeria today that you are producing, say, granite, and you know that you can only produce 3 bags. But in terms of Africa, maybe a gap in Africa is, say, maybe 1 million bags. All you can do is to look at other African countries that have signed up to these agreements. Which country also have huge production of granite?
Yeah.
Can then have a partnership with that company so that in terms of supply, you guys are bringing your own quantity together to now have a volume that shows you have good capacity. But when you have those little ones here and there, people that want to buy bulk ones. So it becomes difficult. So what AfCFTA is also doing that, you want to be able to define each country by their comparative advantage. You want to remember Nigeria for rice, you want to remember Nigeria for this. So if you remember Morocco, remember them for stuff. You remember Kenya, remember them for something. Remember South Africa, remember them for something. That is the goal of AfCFTA. All right, so and that then becomes how they will prioritize how you will reduce your tariff for those. There are commodities that are sensitive. Like for rice, Nigeria is prioritizing rice as one of the commodities that we cannot obviously liberalize totally. All right, each country also have commodities like that defines their comparative advantage. So that's the goal of ASCFT, and that's the only way we can conquer Africa and also be relevant globally with regards to trade.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Collins. It has been wonderful speaking to you. Thank you for creating time to be here with us today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank-
much. Yes.
thank you. Yes,
Thank you for what you're doing. This is really good.
uh,
I mean, just helping to create this voice again for our school, and of course also helping to create those linkages.
yeah,
Thank you. Very, very important.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. We'll be speaking to Mr. Collins Omokaro, who is a senior investment and technology promotion expert with the United Nations Industrial Development Organization. He's also a special advisor to the executive chairman on communications and advocacy at the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Continue to subscribe to our channel, bringing more exclusive interviews. Bye for now.